Situation Report, Eastern Front, January 1942. Heeresgruppe Ost A, Feldmarschall von Hammerstein-Eckwart. Assault on Vitebsk Needle positions successful. Russian fortifications insufficient. Taken Vitebsk and Smolensk according to plan. Once Combat Engineering Corps has fixed railways, consolidate north to secure breach, then wait for completion of operations in Ukraine. Heeresgruppe Ost B, Feldmarschall von Rundstedt. River crossing south of Zaporizhia successful. Panzers have cut enemy lines of communication. Delays in marine operations meant that Crimea has not been taken. Operation will continue by conventional means. Once southern sector is secure, move to Kiev and liberate Ukraine in coordination with Heeresgruppe Ost A. Kaiserliche Marine, Admiral Raeder. General refit in anticipation of Pacific operations. Submarines continue to secure the Atlantic crossing. Luftwaffe von Richthofen. Aerial superiority over Russia achieved, commencing bombing operations both in support of the ground assaults and against Russian infrastructure. With the arrival of troops from the Western Front in the east, we have started moving against the Russians, and it is time to reorganize a little bit. So we now have Heeresgruppe Ost A, or Heeresgruppe Ost A, I'm not yet sure how I'm going to pronounce that at times. And that's von Hammerstein-Eckwart, who has been leading the troops in the west, but only with his offensive divisions. So he's bringing along the Second Army, and the previous Third Army is reorganized into Heeresgruppe Ost B. So Ost A is taking the northern sector from Riga to Smolensk, and with their objectives potentially northwards. And for that, he has von Kluge's troops, who was not willing to relinquish command to Guderian. And he's got Wilhelm von Leeb's regular infantry to support. Then Gerd von Rundstedt, who has been holding the Eastern Front since the beginning, is now in command of Model's Third Army for breakthrough, which is currently stationed in Ukraine for operations. He has von Manstein's Ninth Army holding the line in the east. He has Kurt Haase's security troops, who are currently operating in the Ottoman Empire, although they might be brought to a different command. And he has the Foreign Legion, which is currently helping out again in Ukraine, as well as finally Guderian's 15th Army, which is a newly created and yet to be battle-tested group. So a little bit of a mixed bag under von Rundstedt. Then we remain Heeresgruppe Nord under Volhard Bockeberg, who is currently holding von Falkenhorst's mountain infantry, which is poised for a naval invasion in Iceland, as well as von Mackenson's newly converted troops, who might be able to start moving into Finland soon. And he has the Marines nominally under his command, although a part of the Marine detachment is currently operating in Russia. And then we have the Heeresgruppe West, which is at this point without Field Marshal, who's mainly just having security troops. So we've got von Kleist's First Army holding the center line in France. We've got List's troops holding the lines securing the borders to the United States of Greater Austria, and we have and the ports. And with that, we have the European theater somewhat reorganized. But we do need a new Field Marshal for Heeresgruppe West. Now, none of the current active generals is particularly looking forward to a promotion to a cozy place in the West, where most of the fighting at this point is done until things get hot again against the Entente and potentially the United States of Greater Austria. But we do have to get somebody promoted, so it'll probably be expedient to not pull somebody off active duty at this point, especially on the Eastern Front. However, we do need to look into this politically, who we are going to promote. And as such, the choice in Berlin falls on to General von Küchler, who has been eyeing the position of Field Marshal for quite a while, and who is known to be well connected, and at the same time very quick to change his allegiance to whoever is in power. So to stop him causing trouble and to quiet him in Berlin, we will be promoting him as Field Marshal, and he will be put in position to take on Heeresgruppe West and take care of that particular situation. All right, so, and with that, I think this is pretty much the only theater that we're currently fighting in. Everything else is rather quiet. We are working, but we've got a couple of administrative things to do. For example, we have a research slot. Now, I am refitting a couple of ships, so I think the advanced equipment conversion is something that has been waiting for a long time and needs to happen. We do have the improved light battery actually waiting, so I might once that's through, I might actually do stop the current. Like, none of the current refits actually has started, I think, except for the von der Tann. So what I might do is once that's ticked over, then we'll redesign some ships and we'll see which refits need to be changed. We've also got Opel as a new attribute, and we might be able to. That's on 6, so we might be able to pick a policy for this. Let's see what we can get here. 10% funds gain. Production resource needed. Okay, that might actually be interesting because this would be mechanized and trucks which need rubber, which is scarce. We could get 10% reliability, which is also nice, or a research bonus on that. Interesting question. What do we have in terms of research coming up here? So let's say if we were, I think the Sonderkraftfahrzeug 251 is something that's coming up. So for that, but this is basically the only thing that the research bonus would apply to. So it's not really that interesting per se. I think to have a higher reliability and fewer losses might be quite nice. Or production resources. Let's have a look at the production resources. What are we using for? We're currently using 35 rubber for the half trucks. So if we were to reduce that, we could reduce that by 10%. So it's 4 rubber. It's half a shipment. So not worth it. And 10% funds gain. So I think the mechanical genius is a good one to take. So let's set the policy here, and then we can distribute a point. And I think we were going on the central tree here, and here we could get 4% hardness breakthrough for 1 production, or 3% soft attack for 6 production. Soft attack, I think breakthrough is pretty much good enough at in the late stage. Although it is way more expensive to get the 3%. Oh no, this is only for rocket artillery. That doesn't make sense. This is for mechanized and for the trucks. Yeah, okay. So this is what we'll take, and we will not necessarily spend it now. Not now. We will eventually. The trucks don't need it, and the mechanized is going to get a new equipment variant anyway. So that's done. All right, what else is up and running? We have, what do we have as a decision? We can return French lands. Where are we? That might solve the rather ugly situation in France. There we are. So German government has been discussing what to do with the French lands we currently occupy, land which we have no rightful claim to. Well, military expediency, should we return the land to our French allies? Well, allies, right now, France is a military governorate under von Bock, and very much as such nominally independent, but in practice part of Germany. So returning the possessions here to the French would allow us to free up the positions here, and we could still use the ports, obviously, because we can rely on von Bock to not stab us in the back. So that's definitely something we can do, and this is probably just going to clean this up pretty much. Which might be an expedient thing to do, because I see no reason to directly control these territories. In the unlikely event of conflict with France, things would be no point in holding these anyway. So I think that's something we can do. Let's give them back to von Bock. Okay, so German government, what did we do? Coastal and contiguous owned states, which are French cores, claims will be returned to German military administration of France. Alternatively, not return, and no will be asked to do. No, will return that. And that cleans up at least these parts of the French border. Interestingly enough, we are keeping the former Swiss parts of Romandy here. And obviously the Commune of France enclave still exists, as well as the Imperial French one in the south for setting up for future conflicts, but that's one for the politicians. Let's get back to the situation at hand. I think we have cleared up pretty much everything. Trade-wise, we are short on aluminium again, because the Dutch, they can only ship so much, which means we can still trade a little bit more with German East Asia, but that's not going to be enough. We are going to have to ask the Italians for additional material, and we might need actually 3. So let's do that. Okay, improved light battery is done. Rubber trade is fine, which means now, and yes, then we'll get back to the action on the ground. Now we are going to have a quick look at the models that this would affect. So the Elsass class, which I am planning to refit, could get the no, this was light battery. This wasn't for the secondaries. Okay, this was only the improved light battery. So this only affects destroyer models. Okay, perfect. So the refits are fine, but the Zerstörer 1941A probably means we are going to switch that to a new type, because they're currently using the 127 millimeter SKL 43, which are actually 128 usually, and that could be replaced with the basically the same gun. Oh, with twin guns. Okay, so these were singles, and now they're getting twins. Does this warrant a new ship class? Yes, probably, because we also have better torpedoes. So let's create a new variant. Save as new. Actually, I need to copy that first, so I don't need to type it all again. Save as new, and that is going to receive better torpedo launchers. I think we still fire control 2. Yes, that's something we need to do something about, actually. AA is up to speed, and then the twin light batteries. Yes, I know I could do this on a click of a button, but I want to see what I'm doing here. And there we go. And this is going to be the Zerstörer 1942. There we go. Destroyer 1942. Save that for 15. And that's that. And then we can produce 1 more, 2, 3. Again, the Zander class. Every time I do this, the Zander class gets decommissioned. It's an interesting bug. Where is it? There's the Zander class frigate. That is very much not decommissioned. And how much did I make? Wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 5, 6, 7. My gosh, we have a lot of production lines on these destroyers. Okay, so destroyers, 1942 destroyers. So with Germania Werft, we are going to have to take 7. I said, wasn't it? Okay, and that'll give me the same number, and then we'll just let all the dockyards drop through into that when we're done. We are running a little short on convoys again, so I might actually have to produce a couple more convoys. So let's get maybe 5 on convoys eventually. All right, so this is all going, and we'll have to see where we're allocating these. I'm not going to pre-allocate them to particular Schlachtgeschwader, but we're going to get that to work. All right, which leaves us with a research slot, and I think how are we on? I think with the current, there's a lot of things we can do. Construction 4 might not be bad. But then again, we're not constructing that much, only to unlock excavation 4 actually, which is going to give us 10% resources gain. This is still, or we could go for how are we on the production efficiency limits? Yeah, we've got a few things at production efficiency limit actually. So and then again, we're not short on material. So industry is becoming, I think, less important at this point. Let's see if we can find something to strengthen the army. Specifically, there are a couple of special forces things we need to do. So the mountain infantry is in need of improvement, and we also need to do the doctrines on these. I just don't have the army experience for it. That'd be something. Engineers, engineers and field hospitals can go up. Let's do the field hospitals, because that is just better for war support, protection, and experience loss, especially on the aggressive on the aggressive ones. And we're going to be using Opel for that. Let's have a brief look. I don't have the political power. Once we have a bit more political power, we can go through the MIOs and see if we can put a couple of policies down. All right, so I think that's all of it out of the way. This is just the Zerstörer. And let's get back to the action then. Right, on the ground, Guderian's tank divisions in the south can probably start launching a counterattack. And the other two tank divisions, the 5th and the 9th, are going to go around south. And we are launching, two tank divisions here should be sufficient. There is not much, the Russians are retreating basically from everywhere here. So the key operation here in the south, and we are immediately going to follow up with the tanks. The key operation here in the south is to cut off the Russian retreat at Crimea. So we will be sending all available tank divisions for that assault. Although heavy Russian counterattacks under big gun support is on the way as well, but I think the tanks can withstand that, and that's what they're called the armored spearhead for. And they are okay. And we are going to have to deal with the British situation. Okay, let's deal with that first then. Okay, the Dutch have obviously helped with their diversionary operation near Dover, so it's only fair for them to take some territory. So we will start from the north with these strategic situations, and at least with the Dutch, it's not a huge problem because they are very much on our side, unlike the Spanish, who, as part of the Entente, were trying to create an enclave for the syndicalists because, reasons really. So we'll begin in the north, and we'll see what the Dutch are going for. Okay, so far no Dutch claims on British soil. In that case, we'll just continue and see how much more we'll see if they want the Duchy of Sussex, then see what I did there. Then they can have it. I think no other territories are currently under discussion. Costa Rica is, by the looks of it. The counter-revolution of Costa Rica means that they were part of the war against the British, considered politically, and it's now on the table for us to occupy. Okay, sure, we'll take it. So we've still got St. Helena. Yes, that's something that we need to take, and the Ascension Island. Ascension, I believe. Okay, we'll give the Dutch one more chance to claim Sussex. And it seems like the Dutch are not interested. The Netherlands would be perfectly capable of taking Sussex, but they seem to be not interested. So in that case, we shall take Sussex as well. And we will confirm this and exit that. Okay. Can we now liberate Costa Rica? Because we do not wish to occupy Costa Rica. I'm assuming there's going to be a decision coming up very soon, so I'm going to hold back until that. But okay, fate of Romandy. Okay, that's still one here. That's the position near Lausanne here in the south. Now let's have a quick look at what's going on there. Is there anything resource-wise that we were interested in? Not really, just forests, mountains, and the Swiss actually technically own this. So what do we do with Romandy? We're going to have to make that decision anyway, so we may as well do it since we're at it. Having gained control of the new swath of land, we must now work out what to do with it. Yes, occupation and so on. All right, let's see. And yeah, honestly, the Swiss, we've had trouble with the Swiss in the past, and the Swiss, I think, are part of the, yes, they are part of the Donau-Adria-Bund. So no, I do not see why we should be giving them control over this territory. I think the French can take part of the French part of Switzerland there. And yeah, the cost would be relatively low to keep it ourselves, but there's no value in this territory. So we're giving it to the French. And that's that. All right. Any other end-military occupation? Oh, that probably would be Denmark. We could actually, because honestly, at this point, control of Sweden has basically control of the Baltics. So I think there's no good reason to keep controlling Denmark at this stage. What's in Denmark resource-wise? There is bugger all. There's a bit of aluminium. Aluminium is kind of an important resource. We'll stay there for now for military reasons. I'm sure we'll come to an agreement with our Danish brothers eventually. But now with that all out of the way, I think we can get to the point and complete the operations here. The Marines are launching an attack in the north, but I think they are. Crossing the river here is this river crossing operation is very costly. They will have to wait for. They keep the 7 divisions that are controlling the north here occupied. So we can get the tank divisions to complete the encirclement here, cut off access to Crimea, and then just isolate the enemy divisions there. Ideally before everybody makes their way back to Crimea, but by the looks of it, they are now isolated, which means we can. We definitely need a second tank division there for now, but the other 2 can already launch an attack north, and we can get the infantry here to join as well. So we've got a couple of infantry divisions that can join in support. There we go, and we will start pushing the Russians out of their positions. That attack on Crimea has been defeated, so we can now launch an operation in collaboration with the Marine divisions, who are trying to cross the river here and widen the front lines and get these Russian. I think the Marine attack at this point is no longer necessary. Honestly, actually, let's make sure we are collapsing the eastern part of the front line here, and then we can begin shrinking the positions there. All right, tanks are on the move, and we will be relieving the tanks north of the Crimean crossing very soon. Let's launch the attack here, and tanks can already launch once the counterattack is defeated, which it is. Tank divisions are going to launch a major assault on the encircled Russian troops in the south. Just having a quick look if there's anything I need to worry about. Not really. The Ukrainians are joining in, but without much success. We are getting infantry support, and there we go. Okay, where did the Marine divisions have moved east for now? Do I still need the Marine divisions? Yes, I do, because we are planning to launch an assault from Kiev. So let's already get the Marines positioned in Kiev. It's getting a little crowded here, and their objective is to cross the river, so we'll already move these divisions north while we are we have almost liberated things in the south here. Okay, I thought we were still further away. All right, tanks infantry has come in support. Tanks rolling further west, although they are relatively low on relatively low on ammunition and fuel at this point. The rest of the Panzer divisions is coming in to assist. And that is the last stand of the southern flank of the Russian army that has been invading Ukraine. And 13 divisions in the fields without any near south of Kherson are encircled and are about to be destroyed. So massive losses here for the Russians, and a huge success for Ukraine in retaking these positions. We do have to leave one infantry division here, just to make sure that that the crossing here is secured. Okay, and southern Ukraine has been liberated. That means massive losses of 140,000 troops who have perished or surrendered in the fields south of Kherson. Zaporizhzhia is not yet liberated, but we can now, I think, there's not too much value in pushing the southern operations much further at this point. I think we will now pivot towards Kiev and get Guderian's panzer divisions aligned together with the Marines for to exploit that position there and break through the lines here. So let's position them along the lines here, and their offensive is then going to be able to start connecting with Heeresgruppe Ost A in the north. So they will be retaking potentially the positions near Chernihiv and opening a southern flank here with potentially some Russian encirclements. We have some fresh divisions, and I think, let's see where we're going to put those. I think the von Witzleben's troops can use a couple more. That's what I think what these were designated for. And we can recruit another operative. So let's see who we got. We got an Ottoman Albanian, a Lithuanian. None of this is particularly helpful. An Indian. Oh, that'd be interesting. She's a master interrogator. Okay, that's not particularly helpful. But I think having an Indian operative would be very useful for future operations. So we're going to hire her. And we have a couple of operatives who currently have nothing really to do, given that the French situation does not require resistance control anymore. The Danish resistance is very much under control here. And that means we can begin, we've got a lot of operatives actually, we can begin, we might send some more to the Russian side. So let's get Giskus to build up some intelligence in the Russian north. And we can probably have Josef Schmidt. Did I have a Russian operative? I had a French, a Polish. I don't think I had a Russian operative. Leboeuf, she is... No, Polyakova. Where's Agent Polyakova currently? Yeah, she needs to be in Moscow. So Polyakova in Moscow. And that leaves me with 3 operatives, when I think we can start building up some intelligence. We do need somebody in Iceland to know what we're running into there, although I think by the time that they've built up some intelligence there, it's probably not worth it. Instead, we're going to send Kurt Weiss to... we're going to send him to New York City. And I would like to have a second operative in the US, just in case he gets captured. So we can send Franz Schulze with him as well, and he can go into more into the center. And then that leaves us with our new recruit. I think I'm going to send her to the US for now as well, because I don't like to send operatives alone into enemy territory, simply because the situation there is, if they get captured, then I have nobody to bail them out. So we'll send her to Atlanta for now, just to learn the ropes from the 2 more experienced agents. And I think with that, we are pretty much set up in terms of operations. I would be kind of interested to run to get contacts with the Russian the Russian any kind of Russian resistance that would be interested in future governance, but I think it's probably not as important as it would normally be. So let's we're just holding the line here in Georgia. Let's refocus on our Russian positions and on the conduct of war here. How is the air situation? We do have some contests. We're contesting a little bit over the Baltic here, so I can probably divert 2 Zerstörergeschwader. And the other 2, Belarus is under control. Okay, so we got this pretty much under control. And how many divisions can we still recruit? No, still a fair few. So we're still recruiting. Some Marines, and I think we also need to find out something better to do for von Mackensen's Panzergrenadiers. I think this is the point where they can make themselves useful. How are we on supply from Luleå here? Not great. But let's give von Mackensen something to do. He can probably... How far can we get supply-wise would be the question. There is no supply hub in the north. There's Tromsø, obviously, but beyond that there's an awful lot of nothing. So he would have to try to push along the coastline. We'll set him up potentially for a counter-attack here. No, just along the where is he? There. Just along this position. It is a river crossing, so it's not ideal territory and forested. But it'd be interesting to see if he can manage to take the Finnish port of Kemi. And maybe we have a chance here for a counterattack against Russian forces and expand into the Finnish territory. So it gives him something to do. How are we on mechanized equipment? Still short, so production still ramping up there. But, okay, it's 6 days from the amphibious drive, so not yet, Kameraden. We are going to get there, to the amphibious tanks that we're going to be using. All right, artillery is in place. Has the artillery needs to move into Smolensk. And from here on out, we will be conducting, while Guderian is redeploying, von Kluge can conduct some operations to widen the flanks here. I think pushing them a bit further away from our positions would not be a bad idea, but we do need to actually plan that. So let's have a look at the supply situation. I think pushing north towards the supply hub there. We're still in winter, so it's still not ideal. But getting a bit more supply onto the front line by taking an additional hub would not be a bad idea. Alternatively, we could push already south and take the supply position there. That might actually be the better option, because that gets us closer towards the lines after Guderian starts breaking out from Kiev. So southern push it is. Unfortunately, that means we do need to get across the river, but let's draw a front line here, and I do need all of von Kluge's troops on that one. So let's concentrate von Kluge on the southern line. There we go. Okay. And the rest of the troops holds the rest of the positions there, and that'll put some relief. We are constructing. I think we are constructing additional railroads towards Smolensk. So hopefully and Vitebsk. So once that is completed, which ones are we building? Okay, these ones should be still under construction. Okay, yeah, Vitebsk needs to be built up as well. So let's get Vitebsk done too. Well, we have some industry, so I may as well put it to good use. Okay, so von Kluge redeploying, Guderian redeploying, and the rest of the Air Force is underway. Do have a strategic bomber wing here, I think, which was still in 4th Fernkampfgeschwader. Okay, is deployed as well. but they do not have a region assigned. So let's fix that. There we go. And that means we are running strategic destruction in Western Russia here. Very little opposition, and we'll be starting to bomb some buildings hopefully very soon. And the only decision, oh, that's an ice pilot. Okay. Right. So everything quiet at the front lines at this point, and I think that means we can now decide the fate of Costa Rica and the fate of Britain. Oh, and a naval invasion in near Havana. Okay, I didn't even notice that. American naval invasion in Cuba. Yeah, let's push them back out again. We have some. We are controlling actually some troops in Havana. We might have to give them somebody to actually take care of them. Yeah, General von Schobert. We're gonna send him to Cuba. There we go. So let's destroy this American division that has landed in Cuba here, and we can decide the fate of Costa Rica. Now we don't have an interest of actually holding Costa Rica. I think resource-wise there is very little there, and strategically it's way out of the ways. So we can restore the loyal Costa Rican state, which is what we were doing anyway. So this is becoming this is now Costa Rica part of the Reichspakt. So after much back and forth, we are where we began, and we can decide the fate of Britain. So what can we do here? After defeating the Union of Britain, we now control Great Britain. Well, the obvious choice would be to recreate our own Britain. Some members of the High Command have proposed crippling Britain by partitioning it into smaller constituent states. Of course, we could also just occupy the entire island. So we could create a collaborationist government. We could create an English and a Scottish government, and then partition the two. Or England, Wales, and Scotland, or just occupy the whole thing. I think breaking up the British into smaller constituent states that are individually squabbling with each other is a very imperial thing to do, divide et impera. And it is also something we have some experience with in how to deal with. So if ever somebody tries to reunite the British, this is a potential political stream that we're going to be seeing in the future. So I am very much in favor of dividing it up as small as possible. So English, Welsh, and Scottish shall be independent, and as such, no longer unified against us or anyone else in the future. A new order in Britain. Following the defeat of the Union of Britain, the occupation will now officially come to an end following the imposition of new borders. After half a millennia of union, England, Scotland, and Wales have been divided once more. Well, I would not say divided, I would call it liberated. There has been certain feelings on the ground about independence, especially in the north. Our armies will continue to remain heavily involved, helping prop up the new English, Scottish, and Welsh governments until at some point we may deem them more trustworthy. Loyal collaborators seeking to remake these lands anew and revive once lost national identities will take over much of the day-to-day running, particularly in suppressing the ongoing continuation insurgencies of Union loyalists. While the British may yet resist, in time, the republics of England, Scotland, and Wales will cement their place in the world, and the concept of the British nation will be relegated to the dustbin of history, once and for all. All right, that's what we are looking at now. So it starts, and yes, obviously, it is all part of the Reichspakt, but it starts looking the way that von Schleicher has envisioned things, a strong central empire. However, we may at some point have to have a conversation with the United States of Greater Austria, because there are potentially some regions where we could argue that they are very much German. There is pro-Germanic sentiment, or at least pro-independence sentiment, and that these regions should be, for all intents and purposes, liberated and made part of made part of other states. We will see. For now, this is a discussion for much, much further in the future. Let's get back to the war in the East against the Russians. But first, this actually frees up some agents, because we don't have to deal with the resistance anymore. So we can get Willy Braun. I think Willy Braun is going to take over the Atlanta operations, which means we can send Agent Talwar to India. So she's going to move to Delhi, and that means we can then get Agent Leboeuf, who has some experience in the field, to assist her, and she can move to Calcutta, and the two of them can take a closer look at what's going on in India. There is some combat going on here. I'm not sure. Okay, Hawaii is attempting to invade India. That is ambitious of you, and also probably unnecessary. I do have some troops, I think. Yeah, I do have some infantry divisions in Hawaii, just to be safe from any kind of American interventions. I haven't heard anything from the Japanese anymore. China seems to be making progress south of Seoul, so we'll see if we need to get back to doing something about them eventually. But Paulus's troops are ready. Can we ask? No, we can't ask for military access. Okay, so we have to wait until we can improve the situation with Burma. All right, and we are. Yeah, we're moving. We're still moving into position. How is the invasion of Iceland looking? We should be. That's in European theater. We should be reasonably far along at this point, I believe. Yep, 7 more days. So in a week we can move on the Union of Iceland and take that out. Meanwhile, there's not much going on in the Atlantic anymore. So shipping, enemy shipping has very much come to a close. There is a lot of shipping going on off the coast of South America, actually. So we may also have to think about redeploying the submarines at some point. We do have a fair amount of submarines. We have a fair amount of submarines in reserve now. So let's see how that goes. Might start raiding in the Pacific a little bit more. And just when things were starting to look interesting, this happens. We have been notified of an imminent declaration of war. The Dominion of Canada is preparing to declare war on the German military administration in England. Aha! I see what's happening. I think we do need to move our operatives, because right now Canada is a much more interesting proposal. And where's New England is part of the Entente, so yes, there too we need to send somebody. And we will send some people to Montreal, and we will send her to. Okay, we still have somewhere in Canada. Could go east, but I think Toronto should do the trick. Okay, so Dominion of Canada, which means the war with the Entente that has been sort of cycling overhead for a long time, is now on the horizon, which also means that the troops under Friedrich Paulus, which are in German East Asia, are potentially up for an invasion. We have increased the infrastructure in Guinea, but we're still struggling with supply here. So let's just shorten the front lines then, and get these troops out of the remote positions where they have difficulties. Yeah, and the attack is going to go towards Port Moresby, which is going to be tricky. But we do have a naval base now that we can operate from. And then obviously Australia becomes an interesting point as well. So war with the Entente on the horizon. How big is the Canadian Navy? That is probably my first question. Is this something we need to worry about? 2 to 4 battle cruisers, 5 to 7 battleships, and a carrier. So yes, the Canadian Navy is very much not to be trifled with. which means we are going to probably maintain our defensive stance for the time being with the submarine operations in the Atlantic. And I think we can start taking, now that we've secured these positions, we can move a little bit further. I'm not sure if there's any collaboration with the Russians going on through the Norwegian Sea here. What are we catching in the north? Ships of unknown origin. I have no idea what these are. Norwegian freighters? Couldn't be. But, oh no, this is Icelandic. Okay. So we're catching Icelandic shipping here. We are going to need one of the battle groups to just support from Scapa Flow. So let's send them north, and then they can be. Currently, they're running exercises, but they obviously now need to no longer support these areas, but need to make sure that the invasion route is covered. So we need to get these territories under control here. Our naval patrols are going to keep an eye on the western approaches, and I think we also need to, if the war with the Entente is imminent, definitely need to position von Kleist's troops differently. So let's get von Kleist's army positioned to retake Montpellier and push the French out, we're gonna need troops to deal with Spain. However, once that happens, I think that I don't like the position in the south here. It is kind of okay. We'll divert. There is a potential that the syndicalists are going to kick things up again as well. Let's move a group. A part of this, let's move 8 divisions south to just hold the border. The rest of the divisions should be enough to deal with. I might get 2 more. The rest of the division should be enough to deal with the little French incursion there. I do not wish to pull troops from the Eastern Front right now, but I think that's all we really have to worry about. We've got troops in position to deal with potential Australian situations. German East Asia is in a strong position here. And Japan is busy with China, so the only other threat would be here, and we already have the Middle Africa expedition, who currently doesn't have a commander, so we need to change that. Who is in, and this needs to be Heeresgruppe Afrika, obviously. Heeresgruppe Afrika. We've got Ruprecht von Bayern in charge, but I am going to be needing a general who can lead this. And who are we going to send? We've got Erich Höppner, who's not qualified. We've got Franz Halde, who would work. Cavalry leader, not necessarily. We could promote somebody. Maybe that we've got political power 38. Let's see if we can promote somebody who's distinguished himself and send them down to Africa. Yeah, it's a challenge, you know. Probably one of the special forces divisions. So if we're looking at and the 8th Army no longer has a commander. Oh, have they become military administrators? The game didn't tell me that. I'm almost... Oh, okay. Von Falkenhorst is now military administrator in England. I would probably not have done that if I had known that that's what's going to happen. So I've lost von Falkenhorst, unfortunately. That is very unfortunate. Okay, so we've got a couple of reorganization things to do. We're going to need somebody to lead the 8th Army. So we're definitely going to grab somebody from one of the mountain divisions and see if we can promote them. Okay, I don't think we necessarily have somebody, however, who is qualified enough in these divisions. Let's see if we can see that from a more general overview. And sort that by experience. Okay, so we've got some. Okay, we've got Generalleutnant Fuchs from the 1st Gebirgsdivision. He can be promoted, and that would cost 100 command power. The problem is, I don't have 100 command power, and I can't have 100 command power because my base value is only at 60. Which means I need to trick a little bit. I also need to change this. We've just got 50 army experience. I was going to change that potentially to logistics focus. But is there a way to get around the command power limit for officer promotions? There should be. Okay, slight sidestep here. This is actually rather annoying. So the way this works is you have a base cap of 200 for command power, but everyone who you assign to your military staff is taking away command power. And because I have 6 advisors assigned, I'm only down to 80 max command power. However, the only way to promote would be to get 100 command power. So effectively it means with a full military staff you can't do field promotions, which is just, I don't see why. It makes no sense whatsoever. So what I'm going to do, which is really annoying, but what I'm going to do for now is I'm going to temporarily remove, Robert von Greim from the military staff for now, for the 10% mission efficiency on air superiority, because we are currently in good position. And then we'll see, maybe we'll hire somebody else, because I might actually think of getting somebody from the Navy into the high command, instead of, because we have 2 on the ground. We've got von Blomberg for infantry and von Manstein for armor. I don't need anyone else on the ground, but Wolfgang Wegener would be interesting as a capital ship genius for 50% capital. For now, Robert von Greim is going to be removed, which gets me up to 100 command power. And that means I can now go and promote one of my officers. And but yeah, this is a bit weird because it feels weird because I don't see a good logical reason why this is. Anyway, Generalleutnant Hugo Fuchs, after some political maneuvering, will be promoted, and he is going to become. Hang on. Before we do that, promoting him would actually remove experience from the division. But if we are changing from professional officer corps to which one was it? Accomplished heritage, and then that penalty would be removed. That is probably not a bad one to have as well. This gives us 5% land doctrine, which we are not finished with yet, which is quite valuable as well. Okay, I think for now we'll stay on the professional officer corps and not go into accomplished heritage. That would be nice later on because it also reduces the medal cost, so we could give the individual divisions more power. But I do want the 50 XP that we've accumulated for logistics focus, and that replaces the entrenchment one, which is good, since we are on the offensive. And then we're going to promote Generalleutnant Fuchs into, and he is now Hugo Fuchs. He is politically connected. He's an engineer, and he will become the new leader of the 8th Army. So the first has lost some experience, obviously, because their commander is no longer there, but they'll get that back. So Hugo Fuchs is now going to become the new leader. He stepped up, and we still had somebody. Yeah, we still need to send somebody to Africa. So I think we can find someone in the remaining. Groups here. What do we have? Höppner, who's reckless and an armor officer. Von Rathenau, who's kind of blunt. Halde, who's an organizer. Or von Weix, who is kind of an old school cavalryman. I think Höppner is probably the better choice, just because he is comparatively more skilled in terms of logistics. So Höppner it is. So he's going to be in charge of the Mittelafrika Expedition, which is going to be fighting in the north against the Entente. All right, so I think it's been going on for long enough. Less action than I thought there was going to be, and we are. I think we are defending the wrong tile here. I just noticed. You've probably been screaming at the screen for me for a while. So let's move over there. All right. So some advances. We are on the liberation of Ukraine, and we will be making further inroads into Russia very, very soon. But surprise, war with the Entente is on the cards. And that might actually mean that we may have to return somebody. We might have to return Model, actually, Model's Third Army, to deal with Spain. I don't trust the Entente not to break through here, especially in the somewhat. Yeah, I think Model is sort of a reserve at the moment in Ukraine, and he was meant for a larger operation. So we'll return Model to Heeresgruppe West, and he is going to be positioned. He is going to be positioned near the front lines. We'll just. We'll bring him in. We'll bring him in along the lines here to retake enemy territory, and then I think we have enough troops to fight our way through Spain. That's where we could use the mountaineers. So I think we know where the Gebirgsjäger, the 8th Army, is going to go next after the operations have concluded in Iceland, which is how far away? 6 days away. So we'll get there. Yeah, much shuffling, but much political change and a very different landscape as it is.